everybody. How are you all? My name is Ellie Jackson and I'm a children's author writing true stories about the environment. I hope that you recognise some of my books here because they are in all of your schools. So I'm really excited that you get to read my stories and enjoy learning about the environment and what we can do to help look after all of our animals. So those are my Wild Tribe Hero stories. But today, I'm not going to be reading one of those stories. I'm going to read a different story. And this one is all about water safety. And I need my little teddy friend here to help demonstrate. He's very happy. He's got a lovely thick wetsuit on to keep him warm. He's got his life jacket to keep him safe. And this little Ted is ready to go and have fun in the water. So hopefully after listening to my story, you will also feel more confident to have fun in and around the water because the story is all about being safe around water. So let's have a think. We're going to picture the scene. We are on a beautiful beach next to a river. Perhaps we're next to a lake or a pond, somewhere that you love that's linked to water. Now, maybe you splash in the puddles, in the waves. Maybe you build dams in the river or dig moats for your sandcastles. Maybe you go swimming, bodyboarding, paddleboarding, surfing, anything to do in and around water. But picture that lovely day. It's beautiful blue sky, not a cloud in the sky there, and you're having the most amazing time around the water. And this book is going to help you to stay safe when you have those fun adventures. All right, let's share the screen. And we're going to start listening to the story. Now we've got Sami's Beach Rescue here. I don't know if you realise, but my stories are all based on true events. So everything that happens in my stories happens in real life. So there really was a turtle who ate plastic. There really is an orangutan who needed rescuing when his trees were chopped down. So all of the things that happen to the animals in my story are based on real things. And in the same way, this new story I've written, Sami's Beach Rescue, is also based on true things that actually really happened. So I want you to remember that as we're listening to the story. Hopefully you can recognise lots of the things that happen as we go along. So we're starting. We're not on the beach quite yet because they're about to go for a holiday. Sammy's there, they're packing the car, and he says, "I can't wait," Sami cried as he helped his family pack the car. "I'm going to swim in the sea. I've been practicing in the swimming pool." "You have," Mum agreed, smiling. "We'll have a lovely holiday." "I'm going to love the beach," Sami exclaimed, excited because he had never been before. "I know," his younger brother said. "Oh, you've watched so many beach programs lately. What's that phrase you keep saying?" "Float to live," Sami said in a big voice like the lifeguards in the program. He gazed out of the window, hoping to see the sea first. At last his family arrived at the beach and spilled out of the car. "Race you," Sami called to his brother, grabbing his toy boat. They ran across the beach, hearing the warm sand squeaking under their feet. I love that sound. Laughing, they collapsed in a heap. "This is the best day ever," Sami thought to himself, finding a little river flowing gently down across the sand. He put his boat in and started following it down towards the sea, leaving his family eating their picnic behind him. His boat had reached the waves of the sea, and putting it to one side, Sami started to splash and jump in the gentle waves. Brrr, it was pretty cold, and he'd never done this before. But each time a wave came, it got a little bigger, and Sami felt a little braver. And soon he was in some really good waves, doing some super cool jumps and having a great time. This is so different to the swimming pool, he thought, looking to see if his family were watching him. But they were too far away and he couldn't see them. Suddenly, on the next big wave, he realised his feet couldn't touch the bottom. He had to swim up over the next wave, and another wave came, then another. Sami swam out a little bit so the waves wouldn't crash over his head. Before he knew it, he was quite a long way from the beach. Struggling to stay afloat, Sami knew the waves were too big for him to swim against. He tried for a while, but his legs grew tired. What should he be doing? He couldn't remember, swim or float. The beach was getting further away. Sami wanted to swim towards it, but the waves and currents were too strong and pushed him further out. He flipped over onto his back and floated for a while like a starfish and rested. He thought of everything he had read about the sea and what he'd seen on TV, and then he remembered, float to live. If ever you're in danger in the water, float to live, the lifeguard on the programme had said. Float to live, float to live, float to live. The words kept coming back to him. Sami lay looking up at the blue sky, his ears under the water, arms and legs spread wide, his hands and feet moving gently from side to side. Someone will come, someone will see, and I'll be rescued soon. Float to live. The waves were calmer now as he floated and rested, listening to the sounds of the seagulls calling around him. That gave him the idea to start calling for help, and he looked for a way to save himself. He shouted out and raised his arm in the air, slowly trying to paddle towards the rocky shore. Meanwhile, back on the beach, his family had finished their picnic. "Can we go for a swim now, please?" Sami's brother asked. "Yes, later," Dad replied. "Why don't you go and play with Sami in the river?" "But Sami isn't there," his brother replied. "I've looked for him everywhere." Quickly, Sami's parents started searching the beach. With hundreds of people around, they realised they needed help, so they ran to the lifeguards to ask if they had seen him. "He's 10 years old, has got brown hair, red swimming shorts, and he might have a boat with him." "We found this boat by the sea's edge," said one of the lifeguards. "Is it Sami's?" "Yes! Does this mean he's in the sea?" "Oh no!" Sami's mum cried. "He can swim, but he hasn't been in the sea before. You must find him." "We'll find him, don't worry. You stay on the beach and keep looking. We'll call the boats and the helicopter. They'll find him and he'll be back here before you know it." As soon as the lifeguard called for help, the rescue and Coast Guard teams sprang into action. The helicopter and boats quickly arrived and began their search, while Sami's parents continued to look amongst the crowds. The fast boat drove back and forth along the beach, and the helicopter scanned the sea from above. Time was ticking, and they hadn't found Sami. "Help!" Sami heard the helicopter. "I'm over here!" He was a long way out. Would anyone hear him? Sami was still floating, but every now and then he called for help and held up his arm, trying to save his energy, as he was getting really tired and cold. He knew they were going to find him, but he wished they'd hurry up. He hadn't had his lunch yet, and he was looking forward to the picnic his family had made. "I wish I hadn't gone in by myself," he thought. "I wish I had waited for Mum and Dad. I wish I'd swum where all the other people were, in between the red and yellow flags. I wish they'd hurry." "He's here!" Sami heard an excited voice behind him as the sound of a boat engine got closer. "Hello, Sami, we're the rescue team," one of the crew called. "We've got you. You're safe." "Let's pull him in. 1, 2, 3. Ah, those voices were the best sounds in the world to Sami. The boat bobbed carefully beside him, and strong arms reached down, hauling him to safety. He tried to help climb up, but he was too weak and shivering. "Put this round him," one of the crew suggested. Before he knew it, Sami was in the boat, wrapped in blankets and heading at full speed back to the beach. As Sami was carried onto the sand, lots of people were waiting for him, and when he lifted his hand to wave to his family, a big cheer went up from everyone. "I can't believe how far out he was," said one of the lifeguards. "We found him over by the island, floating calmly on his back, doing exactly the right thing. If he had tried to swim against the current, he would never have made it. Well done, Sami lad." Sami thanked everyone who'd helped save him, and one of the lifeguards gave him some good advice for next time he went for a swim. She said you should stop and think before going into the water. Go with someone else and stay together. Float to live if you find yourself in trouble, and call 999 if you need help or see someone else who does. Oh, there was a lot to remember, but Sami knew it was all very important to help keep him safe. Finally, Sami allowed himself to lie on the soft, warm sand with his family. Enjoying his picnic at last, he was very happy to be alive. "Float to live," he said. "If I hadn't known that, I wouldn't be here. Tomorrow, when I go in the sea, I'm going to make sure I do all the right things like the lifeguard said. And then I can have lots of fun swimming and diving, jumping and splashing in the waves again. And there he is there. He's had a really lucky escape, hasn't he? He's relaxing with his family on the picnic blanket right next to the water there. And he's thinking of all the things he needs to do next time he goes for a swim. And all of those things will help keep him safe. So there's 4 main things in that story that I want you to remember, please. The first one is stop and think. Whenever you're going into the water, whether it's the beach, the river, the pond, the lake, the stream, just have a look, stop and think. Should I be doing this? Have I got everything that I need? Am I wearing a floaty? Am I going with other people? Because that's the second thing we need to think about. You need to be together. Stay with your friends, stay with your family. The number 1 rule is you never go into the water by yourself, always with somebody else. So that's 2 things to remember there. The third thing is if you find yourself in trouble, just like Sami did, he relaxed, he's laid calm, and he floated. And that floating helped save his life. The last thing to remember is if you do see someone in trouble, you can call 999. We'll talk about that in a little bit. That's quite a big step to remember, but you can do it, and especially the older ones in the school. So those 4 things were things to think about for Sami. So let's have another look at being down by the beach. Hopefully you can see this is a really fun day at the beach here, lots of things going on, but hidden amongst this cartoon, there's some difficult things that we need to be thinking about. Having a look, see what you can see. There's people on a cliff top playing football. Is that a good idea? There's people swimming near some sharp, jaggedy rocks. Perhaps that might hurt if they swim near there. Someone else, he's sunburnt on the beach, completely pink from head to toe. He hasn't put any sunscreen on. There's a big storm in the background. Perhaps not a good idea to go into the water if the weather's going to be turning bad. There's some flags there, red and yellow flags. What do they mean? We've got someone just about to step on a jellyfish. Watch out! And we've got people in the water. There's surfboards, there's swimmers, there's jet skis. There's one girl there who's turned absolutely icy cold blue. And there's another couple of people who are standing on a little sandbank and they look like they might get cut off. So all of these things, this is what I want you to think about when you go to the beach or go to the water. Stop and think and look. Where is safe to go in? Should I be going in? What would my family say? What would my grown-ups say? Are they letting me go in like this? First thing to think about there. Second thing, we've said always go with someone else. But if you do find yourself in the water on your own, then we're going to learn now how to float to live. So the water in our country can be pretty chilly, and that might have consequences for you if you do go in the sea. Most people who find themselves in trouble didn't mean to get into the water that day, and most people find that the cold water is really part of the problem. So we're going to watch this video now about learning to float.
Being able to float like this could save your child's life, and today we're going to teach them how to do it. Definitely one to practice the next time you head to the pool together. Floating is an essential life skill because it keeps your airway clear of the water while the body gets over the effects of cold water shock. Effects like gasping for breath. So if your child falls into cold water or gets into difficulty, floating will help them get control of their breathing. Let's get started, beginning in shallow water. First, your child should relax and lie their head back in the water with their ears submerged. If possible, they need to take a deep breath to help with their buoyancy. They should keep their shoulders down and lift their feet while extending their arms out to the side. They can also practice this in deeper water by pushing themselves away from the edge with their feet. That's it, we're floating, but how do we stay that way? First, make sure they try to keep that star shape or whatever position feels the most comfortable. But if their legs sink, it's okay for them to relax and bend. And gentle sculling like this can help keep them afloat too. And that's it. If they don't get it at first, keep practicing. It really is a life-saving skill. There are more skills that every child should know. Sign up and we'll send handy emails that offer free tips and activities that will help you and your family enjoy the water safely.
So there we have it. Very easy. You learnt that in 2.5 minutes. And that's what we need to do next time you're in a swimming lesson, next time you're swimming with your families. Just have 2 minutes to practice floating to live. And everyone can do it. It's lying like a starfish, ears under the water, looking up at the sky, nice big breaths, and let your body relax. And that skill is the key message of how to stay safe should you find yourself in trouble. So really, teachers, if you're doing swimming lessons with any of your classes, or next time children you're down to the beach, just ask your grown-ups, can I practice how to float please? And they can give you some ideas and show you how to do it. Hopefully they're really good at floating as well. You could challenge them, who could float the longest? All right, so that's how to float to live. And the next thing I want to think about is the water temperature. Because on a lovely sunny day and we look down at the beach or look in the rivers or the lakes and we think, oh, I can't wait to go for a swim. And then you put your toes in and it's freezing. Okay, so we need to again stop and think, is this water warm enough for us to swim in? So we're going to think about playing a little game with our thumbs. And I want you to think about if something is hotter or warm, you put your thumb up and put your thumb down for colder. So let's look at the swimming pool. Think about when you go in the swimming pool or paddling pool perhaps. Is that warmer than the bath? Let's have a think. When you have a nice warm bath, is the swimming pool hotter or colder than a bath? All right, so thumbs up or down for swimming pool. Now let's look at the bath. Is the bath hotter or colder than a beach in the springtime? That's just coming out of winter, so think how cold that water might be. Is a bath hotter or colder than the beach in the spring? All right, looking at the beach in the spring then, is that hotter or colder than open water in the summer? So that's the beach in the summer, that's a lake in the summer, a pond in the summer. Is the beach in the spring, that water, hotter or colder than a beach in the summer? Thumbs up or down. And finally, a fridge. Is that fridge hotter or colder than the sea in the summer? All right, let's see if we're all right. So the fridge was the coldest of all, wasn't it? It's about 5 degrees, a fridge. Now, if you put your toes in the water in springtime, in March, it's about 8 degrees. So really, it's not much warmer than a fridge. If a fridge is 5 degrees and the beach in the winter, in the summer, the beach in the spring is 7 or 8 degrees, that water is only a couple of degrees warmer than the fridge. So it's very, very cold at that time of year. If we're looking at the water temperature in the summer, that can be about 15 degrees, 16 degrees, so quite a bit warmer. Some of you might go into the water in wetsuits. I know my 4 children all love going in with their wetsuits on. So I think if we're swimming and spending a lot of time in the water in the summer, wearing a wetsuit's a really good idea. A swimming pool is about 27 degrees, so that's really nice, starting to get warm. And a bath is the hottest of all. And we've got there 37 degrees. Wow, that's a nice warm bath for sure. So you can see then a big temperature difference, and temperature plays an important part in keeping you safe. That's why we don't go into the sea unless we've got all the right gear and equipment if it's too cold. So really, the main thing to remember here as well is don't go into the water if it's too cold. Go in gently, test your feet. If they start to freeze, if they start to go numb in a few minutes, then it's probably too cold for a swim. Okay, the last thing I want you to think about is calling 999. Now, most parents, most families, most older teenagers might have their own phone. Some of you might have your own phone if you're in the upper part of the school. But really, we need to all know how to call for help. If you're near the water, by the sea, you call 999 and ask for the Coast Guard. And if you're near water inland, by a river or a lake, you call 999 and ask for the fire, and they will come and rescue you. So when you call 999, it has to be an emergency only. You're not calling them saying, someone's put their feet in the water and it's freezing cold. You're calling them for an actual emergency. You need help. You need to save this person's life. So really have a think, when would you call for help? But they're really kind and friendly. You call 999, they're going to ask you for your name. They might ask you, they will ask you what's happened and where you are. So you need to know those things if possible. Let's have a look at these next ideas for when should you call 999. These two children here have been walking along a river near their house and they're throwing a football to each other, but the football has gone in and the ball is so close to the edge and they think they can get it. And one of the friends says they're going to go into the water to fetch the ball. Have a think. No one's gone in the water yet. Is this time to call 999? Is anyone in urgent danger? They are not yet in the water. They're just thinking about it. Is this a time to call 999? Hopefully, most of you should have thought it's dangerous, but it's not urgent. He's not gone in. The boy has not gone into the water yet. Your job as the friend is perhaps to try and encourage your friends, do not go in the water after that ball. If he's gone in the water and then there's a problem, that's what you call 999 then. But at the moment, both children are on dry land. No one has gone in. The ball is in, and it's your job to try and help convince your friend to get a grown-up to come and help with the ball. So nobody should be going in the water to rescue a ball like this. The next situation we've got you're on holiday with your family and you're building a bridge over a fast-moving river that leads down to the sea. It's only a small river, but it's deep and it's going really quickly. And the bridge is made from bits of old wood that you found. As one child is walking over the bridge, it breaks and they're plunged into the water and it starts to sweep them down towards the sea very, very quickly. What should you do here? Okay, have a think. The child has gone into the fast water. They're being carried out towards the sea. What should you do? Is this 999? Should you call for help? And the answer is yes, you should call for help here. If there's no grown-ups around and the child, your friend, has gone disappearing out to sea, then absolutely you need to call for help. This is the exact time to help them. Do not go into the water yourself, because then the rescue teams might be having to rescue two children instead of just one. So never ever go in to help somebody else. Stay safe, keep yourself safe, and call for help. All right. I really hope that you enjoyed that story, because most of the time when we're at the sea, we're there to have fun, kick up the waves, jump around, splash, do all the fun things that we like to do when we're on the water. But it's really important you know how to keep yourself safe. And hopefully, from listening to Sami's beach rescue, you'll know exactly what you should do if the unthinkable ever happened and you were in trouble. And just like Sami here, he rescued himself, he floated, the rescue teams came out to get him, and he had a really lucky escape because he remembered the things that he'd learnt from school, from the TV, and things that he might have read as well. So these are the 4 messages to go home with. Stop and think, stay together, float to live, and call 999 if you see someone in trouble. All right, everybody, I really hope that you enjoyed Sami's beach adventures. And teachers, there's lots of resources on my website there. They're all free. You can download this book again. There's more resources, curriculum maps for each key stage, and you can go into it in a lot more depth when you're back in your classrooms. But for now, it's really important. Have fun at the beach, have fun near the sea and the water, but keep yourselves safe. All right, everybody, thank you very much. I'm going to stop sharing and stop my video now. So thank you very much for listening. Bye.